I'm a Canadian. My name is Greg. This is Trash Talk, where I go over 5 trash takes in about 5 minutes. Let's just jump right into it. We have The Adder Canada, which is a cartoonist for the Washington Post. And he posted this cartoon a few days ago, a book, How to Get Attention by Doing Dumb Shit, by Danielle Smith. This is in reference to the Albertan Sovereignty Act, which Danielle Smith presented, and a lot of Albertans really like, because it's essentially telling Ottawa to back off. And I think if you've been actually following Canadian politics for any amount of time, you would know that it's just a fact that Ottawa treats Alberta not very well. A lot of their concerns get completely disregarded. Let's hear from Danielle herself.
The federal government is actively attempting to landlock our natural resources, penalize our energy and agriculture producers, cut fertilizer use, control the delivery of health, education, childcare, and other social programs with strings-attached funding, and confiscate legally owned firearms. And that's just a few examples. The framework provided under the Act will allow Alberta's Legislative Assembly to identify constitutional concerns with a specific federal program or piece of legislation, and then recommend a measured and appropriate response to prevent or frustrate that federal intrusion.
A lot of people agree with Danielle here, and I've even heard many Albertans say she is a breath of fresh air. I find it very funny, too, that journalists and people who are part of the ruling class will make fun of Danielle for suggesting this, telling Ottawa to back off, to have their own sovereignty. These are the same people who complained about the convoy, saying, oh, what do you mean? Mandates are provincial legislation.
Idiot! The mandates are provincial, not federal!
I guess this journalist class just gets to complain about whoever they want. You know, oh, these protesters are here. That's provincial legislation. Oh, this province wants to stand up for their own rights? No, screw that. They're not allowed to do that. That's dumb shit. How convenient. Moving on to the next one, CTV with their trash take. Most Canadians back invocation of Emergencies Act during Freedom Convoy protests. This was a poll from Nanos. Yeah, is that right? Okay, well, here are a bunch of other polls from CPAC, Angus Reid, and then here's another one from CTV that all say no. Majority say no. No, the invocation of the Emergencies Act was not justified, but no, those polls don't matter. It's funny that despite all these other polls being done, even one by CTV's still like, yep, we're going to put forth this headline. Yep, we're going to put forth this headline. We think this is totally justified to put forth this headline. It's irresponsible journalism. Calling it journalism is kind of an insult to the word journalism. You know, they're propagandists, plain and simple. But like, really, would they make up total nonsense? Would CTV make up total nonsense just to confuse us? Would they? Bats aren't safe from new strains of COVID-19. Study says. Yeah, that's a very informative headline. Thank you, CTV. And next up, we have another trash take from CTV. Ontario Hospital considers hiring unjabbed nurses, healthcare workers to combat staffing shortages. It's about time that you started talking about this. I simply said, if you weren't a mouthpiece for the authoritarian regime in Canada, this would have been suggested months ago. And this individual, tinfoil_Travis, rinsed them, saying, other provinces have been doing this for months. It is absurd that the unjabbed are treated as though they are a unique danger to those already jabbed. It's baseless and morally inept, especially when these were Ontario's cases per 100K when they still reported by vax status. And as you can see the graph here, this highest line is people who are jabbed with the booster. They are getting the virus most often. Isn't that nice? Do we care about the science? Are we going to look at the science? Let's see what Justin Trudeau is going to do. Oh no, he is going to urge more jabs, more injections amid a rise in kids' illnesses clogging the hospitals and the ER. This young university student, Camille Baciucci, whom I've interviewed on the channel before, chimes in saying, this emotional blackmail needs to stop. Using the people's children against them in the name of public safety is as Machiavellian as it gets. It is a disgusting tactic to get people to do what you please. People need to wake up and see what this man is doing time and again. Yeah, what he's doing is evil. I think the pushing of all these shots is just evil at this point. We were just looking at the studies, looking at the stats. This is about science, right? This is about safety, isn't it? And in Trudeau's recent announcement, you can almost hear him slip up here when he's talking. Listen.
There's a lot of people getting sick this year, perhaps because we all were so diligent about being safe over the past couple of years and wearing masks that we need to step up again and make sure that everyone's.
This doesn't even make sense. Yeah, a lot of us are getting sick this year, probably because we were so careful to, mask up and do all the distancing. That's why we're getting sick. So let's step up again. Like, you didn't even complete your own thought, bro. I think what you meant to say is a lot of us are probably getting sick because our immune systems aren't as strong because we've been living in a sterile environment. And that would be a good reason. But this guy, man. And in completely unrelated news, a 6-year-old girl passed away, says she had myocarditis caused by the flu, then suffered a massive stroke. There's an article here about it in Richmond News. They go into some detail. Do they mention if she has gotten the shot or not? Of course they don't mention anything about that. But again, if we really cared about the health and safety and the science, we would probably be asking that question. It would be good to get that confirmed if yes or if no. But this article does not mention anything. And to add insult to injury, we have Bonnie Henry saying, get jabbed even if you're pregnant.
Pregnant people at all stages in pregnancy, the vaccine protects both you and your child and gives protection to the baby for the first few months of life where there's no vaccine yet available. So very important if you're pregnant or you're delivering or you haven't during the influenza season that the vaccine.
Can you hear her voice? She sounds terrified. I'm scared just listening to her. But it sounds like they are not even just pushing the COVID jab anymore. They're pushing all the jabs harder. And I'm worried that they're going to take the traditional jabs we've had in the past and make them all mRNA jabs. We did build a big Moderna factory in Montreal. But moving on to the next trash take. This actually isn't a trash take. This is a tweet from the Ferryman's Toll. Love the Ferryman's Toll. Give him a follow. Lol, even their bought and paid for media is admitting what they can't. So he has a tweet here from CBC News. The latest amendments proposed to the government's gun control bill, C-21, would prohibit large numbers of many hunting rifles, shotguns, even antique cannons. Okay. And then this liberal MP says, facts matter. Fact, we are banning assault-style firearms. We are not banning hunting rifles and shotguns. Yeah, so your state-run media doesn't even agree. You guys don't even agree with each other. This is pathetic and hilarious all at the same time. And it's very funny when a self-proclaimed meme terrorist like the Ferryman's Toll is presenting my reality and the hypocrisy on this issue all at once so concisely. Thank you so much, Ferryman's Toll, for getting to the point that these people are hypocrites who are saying, we aren't banning hunting rifles. Well, actually, we are banning hunting rifles. These people are schizophrenic. And you can get so many clips from the past of Trudeau saying, we're not going to ban hunting rifles. And then here we are. But big shout out to Carey Price, the Montreal Canadiens goaltender. He made an Instagram post where he posted himself holding a rifle saying, I love my family, I love my country, and I care for my neighbor. I'm not a criminal or a threat to society. What Justin Trudeau is trying to do is unjust. I support the Canadian Coalition for Firearms to keep my hunting tools. Thank you for listening to my opinion. Wow. So a athlete said, hey, I use hunting tools. I'm standing up for what I believe in. And then how did everyone respond? They freaked out. Everybody lost their mind. The Montreal Canadiens made a statement saying, oh my God, Carey apologizes. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then all of the news media just came smashing down on Carey. Carey Price said he didn't want to be a distraction. Then his tone deafness made him one. Carey Price has revealed where his loyalties lie, and it's not pretty. And then I think this one sums it up. Canadians apologize for discourse after Carey Price comments on gun control legislation. So the argument that they're making here is that Carey's post happened 3 days before the École Polytechnique massacre anniversary. How dare he stand up to a time-sensitive bill having to do with gun control? How dare he talk about that 3 days before the Polytechnique anniversary. Could he have said this 3 days after the Polytechnique anniversary? What if it was 4 days? What about 5 days? How long away from this date is Carey Price allowed to have an opinion on Bill C-21? It's so silly. But I don't even think it's so much about this specific opinion on this specific bill. I think it's the fact that someone with a platform, an athlete, is opposing the Trudeau regime. They are saying, hey, I don't like your legislation. And then all the news media all at once is coming down on him and saying, no, you don't have that opinion. How dare you have an opinion? No opinion for you, sir. And they just happen to use this connection to the Polytechnique to crap all over him, essentially. And the point is to discourage any amount of dissent, any amount of opinion having that disagrees with the Trudeau regime. That's what I think it comes down to. Because every other athlete, actor, and popular person in Canada is going to see how Carey was treated for having an opinion and be like, oh, well, I don't want to get steamrolled like Carey Price did. And of course, we could connect it with what happened to Kyrie Irving down in the States for having an opinion. But what the hell? Can people have opinions anymore? Can we have an opinion? Can we have discourse? No discourse allowed. It's ridiculous. Where is the intellectual honesty at all today? I mean, some psychopath 33 years ago went on a massacre. Obviously, it was tragic. Obviously, it was terrible. But what does that have to do with changing the laws in Canada to take away firearms for hunting from lawful gun owners in Canada? How do these two connect? And the answer to that question is these dots only connect if you have a childlike understanding of guns and gun control. I made a few tweets about it here. It's obvious that the ruling liberal class caters their policies to the massive voting bloc of city dwellers that get them elected. Do you think city dwellers understand the necessity of firearms for rural Canadians? No. So they lean into that ignorance in their messaging. Messaging is simple as guns are bad. All guns bad. If you own a gun, you are bad. They do the same thing with the carbon tax and climate change. If you have an SUV, you're bad. If you don't want to reduce oil, you're bad. That's simple. And it's ironic because it's actually the sophisticated city dwellers that are the ignorant bigots. They enjoy a sheltered city life, miraculously convincing themselves that oil and gas isn't necessary for life in Canada during a Canadian winter. And if you live in rural Canada, you know that that's completely silly to even suggest. Finally, dividing Canada into backwards rural hicks versus sophisticated city dwellers is a very effective frame for the ruling class. They get to justify their contempt for millions of rural Canadians by encouraging city people to embrace their hatred, ignorance, and false virtue. That's been Trash Talk. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, share, and subscribe. You can become a member of the channel here on YouTube, here on Facebook, and you can also donate if you want to support me as well. I'll be making much more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. And really, I think it speaks to how stupid this country is becoming. I said, the unique brand of cancel culture in Canada is extremely cringe as it belligerently encourages stupidity, insecurity, and insincerity, and an unfounded hypersensitivity to every possible dimension of how something might be construed as offensive.